you so much. Colleagues, it is 2 o'clock on the dot, so we'll be starting now. Firstly, welcome members to the Budget Committee meeting this afternoon. My name is Deirdre Bartman and I'm chair for this committee. Today we'll be dealing with the briefing by the Department of the Premier and Provincial Treasury on e-government and digital economy programs within the Western Cape government departments and entities. And then we also have 3 committee matters to also just deal with, which is just minutes and 2 reports, which will be followed by resolutions and actions. While I don't usually give an overview of committee topics, for this particular meeting, I do want to do so as it is a topic quite close to my heart. It is on e-governance. The topic for today's meeting stems from research commissioned about 2 years ago by this budget committee on e-governance best practices, particularly programs currently running in countries such as Estonia. For those who don't know, majority, if not all, of the Estonia governmental programs are digital. Estonia is approximately the same age as South Africa, and they have less people in the country than the amount of residents in the Western Cape. The Budget Committee then received a broad, comprehensive overview of their digital infrastructure and programs that they run, which we received from the WCBP Research Unit, quality research as always. And now the Budget Committee is embarking on the particular journey to say, okay, what are we doing as the Western Cape government? What do we have? What don't we have? What are national, provincial, and local mandates? And where can we improve and ensure smooth coordination of government programs towards a place where we can make life easier for residents in the Western Cape? People don't want to stand in long queues. They want to spend time with their families. They want to braai. They want to go to their children's soccer or netball games. And this meeting is essential in order for us to try and understand how we can help families in this regard to spend less time in queues and more time doing the things they love. Colleagues, I'm going to just ask that we all introduce ourselves. And then I'm going to ask that the department, minister and department just introduce themselves as well. I have received 2 apologies, one from Premier Wendy and one from Member Murray, and I've received notification that Member Fry is standing in for her. But with that, members, you can introduce yourselves.
Hi, good afternoon, Chair, and good afternoon to all the members. Khalil Branke is here. Thank you.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Good afternoon, officials. This is Christopher Fry standing in for Member Murray.
Afternoon. Anyone else? Okay, we are also assisted just by our procedural officer, Ms. Kamish Ahmed. I will now ask first for Minister Winger and Provincial Treasury to introduce themselves, followed by the Department of the Premier.
Thank you very much, Chair. Ray Wenger, Minister of Finance and Economic Opportunities. I'll take your guidance on whether you'd like me to make some opening remarks.
I think having noted Premier Wendy's apology, I will allow you to make some introductory remarks. I'm just going to put my camera off for the rest of the meeting if you all don't mind. I'm still a little bit in recovery, but I wanted to make sure that I'm here for this meeting. We've waited quite a while in budget in order to move forward on this research. Thank you. Mr. Winger, you're up.
Thank you very much, Chair, and also for noting the apology of the Premier and the DG. Thanks very much for calling the meeting, and I know that the committee is very interested in this topic and has done significant research on it with your case study on Estonia. I found the New York Times said of Estonia that it's the role model for governments as a country where almost every bureaucratic task can be done online. And certainly the 99% of their public services being accessible online is a goal that we could all aspire to achieve. But back here in the Western Cape, we're pushing forward on a broad range of initiatives in e-government, which are promising and challenging, but also very important given the fast pace of digital transformation globally. The intention of these initiatives is to improve the citizens' experience. That is our motto for you. It doesn't matter whether you're a resident, a student, a patient, or a supplier to our government. But it's important to note that it's more than just IT systems or having apps. It's actually an opportunity to relook business processes and build the skills of our staff and the culture of our departments so that we can stay on this digital wave. It also means that we need to strengthen and update some very big transversal legacy systems, such as BAS, Provincial, and Logos, and particularly important as we get ready for the long-awaited IFMS rollout, for which the Western Cape government will be a pilot site. The presentation today will be led by the Branch for E-Innovation in the Department of the Premier and supported by the Provincial Treasury. And if I could extend my thanks to the teams that prepared so hard for today's meeting, and would then ask that they introduce themselves, please.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just to check, Provincial Treasurer, are you going to do introductions first and then we'll go to Premier?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Chairperson. It's David Savage, Head Official of Provincial Treasury. We do have also Mr. Apiwe Mazomba, who will lead the presentation from the Provincial Treasury side, as well as Paul Pino, who runs our business information operations in the Treasury here. Mr. Isaac Smith is just exiting another meeting and will join us as well to assist with any questions that the committee might have. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much. Department of the Premier, I think it's Mr. Arendse that will be leading from that side. Just remember to unmute.
Yes, thanks so much, Chairperson. Good afternoon, Chairperson and members, and also good afternoon, Minister and HOD Savage, and also to my colleagues in Treasury. I'm Hilton Arendse. I'm the head of the branch E-Innovation, and we are responsible for facilitating the implementation of many of these digital government programs. And I will be taking you through the process and through the presentation. I just need to check with the we will also introduce himself, Chair.
Good afternoon, Chairperson. I've already been introduced, but my name is Apiwe Mazomba. I'm the director responsible for the financial systems of the province, and I'll be co-presenting with Hilton Arendse. Thank you, Chair.
Wonderful, thank you. Mr. Arendse and Mazomba, then you can jump straight into the presentation. The members are used to the protocol that we'll do questions and answers afterwards. Thank you.
Chairperson, I just want to put the presentation up. You just need to tell me whether you can see the presentation.
I am able to, thank you. You may continue.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, so as it relates to the, I'll just put on my camera also. As it relates to the digital government program, we've started our digital government strategy process in 2015, 2016. And we ended up with our digital government strategy that was signed off in 2017, 2018, and we started implementing a lot of the initiatives after that. So we do say in our case, and we all know that the future of the citizen services are changing, and that is because citizens demand the same level of service that the private sector provides, the convenience, the speed, the smartness. Our employees need tools and systems that can improve their efficiency so that they can service our citizens better. And then also our political principles and all our heads of departments and the key decision makers within our province, not only at them, but also at lower levels, they need immediate, valid, and accurate information to make decisions and to do the task. So our digital government goals are divided into 5. We've got 5 goals. The first is digitally empowered citizens. You need to make sure that your citizens are properly empowered, they have access to the services, they know what services we're in there, and also how to access those services, and they have the right tools. Optimizing and integrating services. Chair, you would know that in many cases, people want to put in an IT system in place where they say, that I want a program, I want an app, but they've not optimized the processes. So the key thing is that we need to optimize our process and integrate those services first before we really digitalize. Connected government and sound ICT governance, that is so critical because if you do not have proper ICT governance, which relates to the issue of business continuity, making sure that the systems are up all the time when the citizens need to exit, or that your information security posture is not strong enough, and you lose data, you'll lose the trust of the citizens, and they won't use the digital services. Minister has focused on, as mentioned briefly, also the issue of the digitally empowered employees. We need to make sure that our employees are empowered, that they've got the skills, they've got the tools, and they've got the ability and the capacity to render the services via the digital platforms, and then also data for better planning and decision making. Chairperson, I will elaborate on this a little bit later, but I first want to focus on a few things that we do within and that we follow in terms of our digitalization process. So firstly, we adopt an enterprise view to developing solutions, meaning that if we develop a solution within the provincial government, we do not have, we need to look at how does it impact the whole Western Cape government and not just one department in one corner of a department and say that we're developing that solution for that specific function. We need to look at how does it impact the rest of the departments, and also then linked to that is to develop that digital service chain. If the service starts, is initiated in the Department of Education, but there's other departments that also need to deliver service in order to fulfill that final service request, then we need to have that service chain properly analyzed and say that it's not just an education solution that we need, it's education, health, and social development that needs to be part of the development of the solution. Of course, it will impact on them. And then in exploring the invisible services. Now, the invisible services speaks to those services that we render to citizens digitally without them knowing it. So it's that back-end services where the person still wants to go to the front end, and that person should only be going to one front-end service point, and from there, that service should be automated at the back end without that person knowing. And it's difficult concept for people to understand, but we need to also accept that many of our elderly people will not necessarily utilize our e-services because they come full with the normal personal interaction, and they prefer the personal interaction. So we need to automate process for them at the back end. We need to digitalize the services that's identified by our citizens, our users, not what we think they need, but our citizens. What are the services that you want us to automate? And often the question, the responses relate to those services that's provided at the national level, application for grants, application for the Home Affairs services. So a lot of those requests comes from our citizens also paying your rent, which is a municipal service. So there's a lot of requests for services that's being rendered at a different sphere of government. But in your initial comments, Chairperson, you did indicate, and when you said, well, you want to see how the provincial parliament can help in addressing this and unblocking this. So thanks for that. Digitalizing the service through applying the co-design principles. When we engage some of our citizens, they said, don't design for us and think we must then use it. And if it doesn't work, you blame us. Design with us so that we can have input into the design of the solution, and then we'll be able to use it properly. We need to build public trust and confidence, which will promote the use, reuse, and sharing of information and data. That links to our data protocols, the laws and regulations that we have as it relates to data and data sharing, and then obviously maximizing value from technology investment. But see, this is a key one, because I can be developing a solution for online admissions at the education department. And then we have KZN Department of Education developing a similar app, and we have Limpopo Education Department developing a similar app. So as a country, we need to maximize the value from technology investments and say that if it's been developed once in a province or a national department, we need to reuse across the government. But that is something that we need to work on at the national level. So our design principles, Chair, is one touch, one citizen, one government. So one touch, we will design for the least number of touch points by citizens or businesses, meaning the citizens shouldn't go from, as they call it in Afrikaans, badpoort na sierboot, from pillar to post to get the different services. We need to integrate the services at the back end so that it's one touch. And it needs to be integrated across the different spheres of government. Currently, we're good at integrating across provincial government, but not at integrating vertically between local government or at national government level. The one citizen, the tell us once principle, in the UK and then also Estonia, is we want the citizens to give the information once, and we'll reuse it across the different departments and services. And then one government. So we're trying to see the citizen as one and the same citizen. But the problem is we expect the citizens to see us as different governments for different reasons. And we need to get citizens to see us as one government. So when they engage us, irrespective of the sphere of government, they need to know that they engage in government and we're providing the service. And quite simply put, the citizen does not care what sphere of government provides that service to them, as long as they get the service. And I'm sure we're all the same. If we were to go into an Absa bank today and they say, no, we only deal with check accounts here. If you want anything to do with your credit card, you need to go to the branch in another town. Are you going to be happy with it? Yet that is what we're telling our citizens, that they need to go from one department to another department. But in the way that we can integrate these services and getting that one government view of the services is to bring it to a digital platform. It will be difficult to bring it to the brick and mortar sites, but the best way will be on the digital platforms where our citizens can access our services. So in our province, we are now looking at the single citizen form linked to the life course approach. We were looking at registry. We have the services from birth to death, and understanding what are the services that your citizens will require at a certain stage. And if we can get to this specific system or this type of implementation, we will be able to be predictive also in terms of how many youngsters will need to do the learner's driver's license, how many youngsters will require NSFAS application, because we know how many people are getting social grants, we know the beneficiaries of those social grants, we know that those youngsters are in matric, and they're going to need to go to university next year. And so just think of it, how encouraging it will be if you in grade 10 and you get an SMS from NSFAS or from a national department or from your province or from your education department telling you, you're in grade 10, and we know it's not going well at home, but we see that you're on a grant, or that your parents are on a grant. Just get to matric and you will qualify for a bursary if you get the desired results. Immediately you create hope with that child, because he knows that if he gets to grade 12, he passes well, he gained admission to university, he will get a bursary. And I'm just making an arbitrary example as to how we can use our data going forward, and also making sure that we address and that we're proactive and can address some of the issues that we have within our society. So, Chairperson, also in the business, our business also need to go from pillar to post to really establish a proper business. And we need to look at how do we have one single point for business to access, where they can do the registration, liquor license, halal certification. Please note, Chairperson, those two don't go together. You can't get a liquor license and halal certification. Startup capital, abnormal load permits, submitting bids. So how do we get that processes for our citizens, so that they do not have to go to different places, and that it's one portal, they access it from the one portal, and they also have a profile that they can see how they're progressing. Chairperson, it might seem like a dream, but we need to work towards this. We need to wake up and start working towards it. And it doesn't matter which entity or agency within government provides that service, or outside of our government provides that service. It's about bringing those together on one platform for our citizens or for our businesses. Now, the single citizen ID. Chairperson, I concur with you that that piece of research work that's been done by your team, it's a brilliant piece of work. It really highlights the areas where Estonia has really excelled, and they've looked at what are the key building blocks and what are the key success factors of Estonia's e-services program. And one of the key success factors is the issue of a single citizen ID, or what they call an EID. And those are issued to children when they're at school already. So once you start at school, you already get to EID, you're identified, and that follows you throughout your life path. So we have also identified the single citizen ID within our province. But Chairperson, we are engaging national departments also, and specifically CETA, because we said to them, this is a critical enabler. We need to have this centralized within the country, because if you start with your single citizen ID at the national level, your EID or a single ID at the national level, it's just easier to implement it at provincial level and then start getting that integration and that seamlessness of services across the different spheres of government. So it will provide us with reliable authentication. It fosters integration between the systems, and it seems the registration and authentication processes. Currently on our mobile app, you register yourself once, or on our digital government app, where we do not have that many services yet. We've got quite a few services, but not to the extent that we have in Estonia. I think we're 20% along the way. There's still a long way to go. But it's important that we now look at the mobile app where a citizen can register once, and that information is used for all the applications that you want to use within the system. So there's already a few services that make use of the application, and as I said, if you registered once on the housing demand database, then your information is in there. And if you then register your kids for school, once you put in your detail or you log on, that information is already on the system. So we're working towards it. It's a slow and a painful process, Chairperson, but we're making progress, and little progress is better than no progress. But as I said, we need to work with our national counterparts. And that's it, Chairperson. You'll see in our strategic partnerships is the fact that we know that we need to play a stronger role at national level. I've been to a Government Information Technology Officer Council, AGM, in March, and I had to present our budget and our staffing and the applications that we have. So each province needed to do that presentation. Chair, I was really concerned with some provinces who has a budget of less than 50 million for the ICTs within the province. There are some provinces who can put all the applications on one PowerPoint slide and say, we've got these 12 applications or these 15 applications. They just do not have resources. They do not have skills. And when we did the presentation, we had something in the region of more than 400 applications. We have a team working on ICTs just within the department of almost 300. And then also the budget that they have, taking into account the broadband budget that's linked to the Department of the Premier, we're sitting with a budget of more than $1 billion. So the budgets of other provinces falls into in terms of what we're doing, and that just tells us that we have a responsibility to play a much greater role at the national level. So I've spoken to the chairperson of the GITOC, Mr. Zaid Abubakar, and I said to him, we'd like to become the center of excellence within the province. We develop apps and then we utilize it, and then we utilize it at the national level. We put it to the national departments or to whoever needs to drive those specific applications, and they can then adopt that. Because we need to use, as I said, we need to maximize our investment in ICTs. We already have 2 applications that will now be adopted at national level. I think the one is on the registration of the ECD facilities in the education space, where we utilize the solution that we've used in Department of Social Development, where the NGOs and the NPOs registered on the system. It's now going to go to the Department of Basic Education, and they will be utilizing that system. So, Chairperson, we need to work at that level, and we need to push and work with them. You'll see the 4th blue, line there, shading, partnering with provincial departments on initiatives of mutual interest. And there's also an initiative that we've taken on board where we said we are meeting with Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, and CETA, the 3 coastal provinces. And that meeting is scheduled for the 28th of June. We will be discussing matters of mutual interest and governance matters, application, strategic alignment, and meeting of minds, because there is clearly a need, and they would want to leverage of what we've done. Chair, by all, that is what we want to pursue. And hopefully we want to bring in, there is another province, Limpopo, where said they would like to work with us, bringing them into the fold, but then we need to get those key national departments also as part of it. But we've agreed that we'll first have our first session, have a discussion, and then we'll start expanding. But we need to build that process or the structures out where we have teams outside of GITOC that just work toward integrated services to our citizens. So the master data sharing at the national and central level to create a single instance of the citizen. I said I'll be speaking to CETA, but we also need to speak to DCDT, who's a key driver of digital transformation in the 4IR in the country. However, they've trimmed down the 4IR program office. They started off with a bang and then they've trimmed down. And I do think that we can play a role and help DCDT and specifically the 4IR program office to put initiatives on their plate for them to drive in collaboration with us and then also bringing the other stakeholders with us. So with DCDT, we want to explore use cases for things like AI projects, artificial intelligence, developing policy on cryptocurrency, creating the guardrails for ChatGPT. So, yeah, Chairperson, my apologies. It's ChatGPT. It's not a Cape Town version of ChatGPT. It should be ChatGPT on the screen. But it's important that we do that at the national level because cryptocurrency is everybody speak about it because that is the top of mind. It's a new currency, but it needs to be driven also by a department such as Treasury. They need to have a strong say in whether we utilize cryptocurrency or not, and also whether it's proper value store. And Chairperson, a few years ago, we did an analysis as to whether we should adopt crypto or not, and whether we should do a strategy on cryptocurrency within the province. And we came to the conclusion 4 or 5 years ago that at that stage, cryptocurrency was a solution looking for a problem. So we did not have a specific use case to deal with it. So whilst it's a solution in the private sector and we'll let the private sector run with that process, we do not have a problem in government that we can solve with it yet. So we will await and see how that develops and see how it plays out. And as I said, ChatGPT, it's quite a brilliant tool. I must say there's people who's fearing ChatGPT and people who like ChatGPT. So I tend to like ChatGPT, but there need to be guardrails in terms of how we're going to use it. Because if you're going to say no use of ChatGPT, you're going to stifle innovation. So we need to utilize and we need to see what's the benefits of all of these new technologies. As I said, part the engaging NPOs. So we are engaging NPOs, businesses, UWC specifically at an educational level, in academic level, and we'll be partnering with the institutions and academics. There are so many of them who would like to work with us, and so many of them will ask us what problems can we solve through research and providing research topics for the students. So that is what we want to explore and see how we can do with that. We will specifically focus on strengthening our cybersecurity and cloud technology skills within the province. That is not a skill that's readily available anywhere. It's highly sought after, and we're looking at how do we create this province as a pool or a hub where we have a significant number of cybersecurity experts and cloud technology experts. So we are working on that with CETA and some and 1 or 2 academies so that we can start strengthening in that space also. Chairperson, in terms of a digital government strategy, we work in 4 phases. It's optimize, integrate, and transform. So year 1 is more leveraging, integrating. Year 2, we focus on expanding the digital services, extending the capabilities, and optimizing and expanding the solutions. And we transition to new platforms, and we're busy with that. The single citizen ID is work in progress. We're still working towards that, but you will understand and will appreciate the fact that it cannot be done in isolation. That single citizen ID needs to be adopted at the national level. So if we can prove the concept here and make sure that it works, we can then scale it up to a national level. And then phase 3 is transform. I'm not going to go into all of these, but just to give you an idea as to what are the things that we're busy with in this financial year that landed on the ICT plans of the departments, the new initiatives. These are not the only initiatives. As I said, we have about 460 applications within our province. And these are some of the new initiatives that have come through. You'll see there we're looking at the virtual healthcare services, telemedicine in the Department of Health. DDET has got the online funding application system, online tourism export, and then also in the Department of Infrastructure, the digital application for pre-enterprise. They build on the application, the housing demand database solution. They now have the digital application for pre-enterprise, and then also in PT, the customer relationship management solution that we have. So there's a host of applications and solutions that we're busy with, and it's structured properly. And as I said, I'll take you through the other initiatives that we have within our province. Broadband, our key projects, our pipeline projects is the Broadband 2.0. We're coming to the end of the current broadband contract by next year, end of September. And we're now working with CETA to have the new contract in place by March 2024 so that there can be a transition period. And then as from the 1st of October, we have our new service provider on board. The digital experience platform is our website, which is outdated, and it's also built on an old Drupal platform. We're now migrating to Drupal 9, and we want to have a more interactive website. New mobile application platform, which is also key, because if we have a proper and good quality mobile application that's user-friendly, it's easy to use, it's safe and secure, we can get all departments to start pushing their services to that mobile application. And citizens have the one app to go to, and they do not have to download 10 different apps to access 10 different services of provincial government. Install digital access facilities at WCG service points. We are working with our audit team, Chairperson, because what we want to do is to use vacant space within our facilities. For example, a SASSA office. In a foyer, we want to put we want to put computers in there so that citizens can go to a SASSA office where there's vacant space, and as I said, and be able to apply for the learners or the children to be registered in the school for those parents who do not have access. So in going to the museums, putting these type of technologies into museums so that the museum doesn't just become a place where people come and look at the historic artifacts, but also can come and register and access government services at that specific museum. And there are museums who have spaces. So we're looking differently as to how do we provide digital access facilities to our citizens. The Cape Access mobile service delivery facilities. My team is in George at this very moment. Earlier today, they've engaged a service provider. We were looking at building a mobile Cape Access truck who will be going to the deep rural area. And this is one of the initiatives of our DG, specifically Chairperson, where those smaller communities where it's not practical to put a brick and mortar facility, we have a mobile bus, Cape Access bus to go to these deep rural areas, strengthening our telehealth services and expanding the connectivity access to other departments housed in Tusang centers. So here we have internet pipes going into all the Tusang centers, because we often have a social development office there, or we have a Cape Access center there. But the other national government entities or the SOEs or the state-owned entities or agencies like SASSA, they do not have a broadband in their facilities. So what we're doing now is we want to expand that connectivity. It's still the same service going into there, no additional cost to us, but providing the broadband service also to a SASSA or Home Affairs or whatever facility, government entity is in that specific site. So Chair, I think I should pause here because I now want to go into the different digital government, into the different goals and unpack what we are doing there. And I do not know whether I should pause for a few minutes so that you can ask questions, and then I'll go into the rest of the presentation just to go through our digitally empowered citizens, integrate and optimize services, and the digitally empowered employees. So I'll go through each one of them and just give a high-level snapshot of what are the deliverables that we have at the moment. Should I continue, or would you like me to pause, Chief?
I think firstly, I want to note that Minister Wenger does need to leave a little bit earlier, as she does have other commitments as well to attend to. So Minister, you are welcome to leave the meeting. Please have a wonderful day further, and congratulations for your birthday for yesterday. I hope you had a wonderful day. Mr. Arendse, I think you can give us a high-level just overview of the rest of the presentations in the different departments. Given that there are over 460 applications in the province, I don't expect you to be going through every single one of them, but just so that members have more or less of a summary of what we are dealing with. But this is also going to inform our future research on where we would like to zoom into. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Chi, and I'll be as brief as possible. So, Chi, as I've indicated earlier, digitally empowered employees, we have 5 objectives here. So citizens must have access, they must be aware of our services, and the access to the services must be affordable. So even though they have access, it shouldn't be costing them arm and leg. They must be digitally skilled to access our services, and the services must be accessible to the disabled. So we're talking about the digitally empowered citizens. So we're now focusing on the citizens. So we have 1,500 Wi-Fi hotspots, and each person that connects to the hotspot has access to 6 GB of data per month, and now we're averaging to 50,000 users per month. And on average, so why it's 6 per person, and they only average about 2 GB of person, 2 GB of data per person per month. And the total volumes that we download is in excess of 1 trillion. So that is to ensure access. We also have a Cape Access Centers chairperson. We have 74 of them across the province. And citizens generally have 45 minutes per day free access, predominantly used by our learners. And then an average of 37,500 user sessions per month. And tertiary education students, teachers, traffic officials, all of them use, and businesses use these centers during the course of the week. The Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport also have a program, the Rural Libraries Connectivity Program, where we equip 260 libraries with 4 to 8 computers, and they have 685,000 users registered. And in some communities, you'll have both the Rural Library Connectivity Project and the Cape Access facilities where they can access the internet. This is just a snapshot of our social media pages where people access our services. So our website, the average monthly page views is 4.14 million, and also our YouTube views, chairperson, 13.6 million. Facebook impressions alone is about 25, 26 million. So we have a huge footprint or huge hit on a monthly basis in terms of people accessing our information and services. And we operate 14 citizen contact channels, chairperson, and the 15th one is the chatbot that education is piloting at the moment. Just in terms of optimizing integrated services, I indicated that we need to optimize our services. This is just screenshots of our Western Cape government app with a scalable menu architecture. So it works with a single authentication, single set of master data, and it auto-populates the information for any new service that you'd like to access. And it integrates at the back end with our CRM solution and our portal. Okay, this is a little bit technical, but this is our architecture services. So it's important that we have proper architecture of our technologies. If we had an approach where everybody could just access, could just buy what they want to, when they want to, in different architectures, different solutions, our systems will never be able to integrate. And also, I just think the nightmare it would create to service those specific devices and the technologies. We would not have enough skills to cover all of it. So we have architecture within our environment, and the architecture is based on our provincial government's goals. And then we have a digital transformation plan, the digital government strategy and a transformation plan. And through that, we identify what are the key technologies that we will be deploying in our organization. And from that, we develop the standards so that there can be proper integration, proper security, and also management of those devices. Our application portfolio management roadmap, Chair, the 450 plus solution, we have a process where we're looking at optimizing our application set. So we are looking at which ones we should add, which ones we should keep, which ones we should change or cease or reduce. So there's a process around it so that we can start standardizing on certain applications. And next week we have a provincial session where we look at the platforms that we're going to require that will take us forward, so that any new department, any department that wants to develop or want to develop a new digital service, they need to look at what technologies are already available rather than trying to develop a new system whenever they want to. And Chair, unfortunately, everybody thinks that her or his new idea is novel and that such system does not exist. There's basically a system for everything that we're looking for already. It's about understanding how do we reuse those specific systems. For example, we had a requirement within our environment for a department looking for a hot desking facility. So hot desking work with, you need to have a desk and you need to be able to book it. You need to be able to book a room if you need a meeting room. And then on the other hand, we have the Department of Health who was looking at a theater booking solution. And they were both departments were looking at different types of solutions. And I said, but it's basically one and the same functionality. It's location-based services that you need to work with. So we're only going to develop one solution. If health is going to require the more advanced solution, we work with health, but whoever then wants to use it for hot desking, they must use it for hot desking. So yes, we are working very steadily towards optimizing. I won't say rationalizing, Chairperson, because rationalizing implies that we reduce the number of applications. We're working towards optimizing our applications because we continually get new requests. That is more our data management services. Chair, I'm not going to go into this because this is a very technical one, but suffice to say that data governance is key for us, and specifically security around data. And this is just the graphic or the map that shows how the data, our planned data will be integrated so that we can have the single view of the citizen. Connected government and sound ICT governance, our broadband, I've indicated this is a key because when you look at the Estonia model, access to connectivity was key. At this stage, we have 1,713 sites here that's on 1 gigabyte per second. We're way ahead of the rest of all of the other provinces. And we are now going to work with Eastern Cape, who's also embarking on a broadband project, and so that we can share lessons learned and they do not have to make the same mistakes as we did. And we connect about 28,000 corporate users within the province, and then also 1.2 million learners in schools. Cybersecurity, Chair, if the committee requires a discussion on cybersecurity, I would prefer that to be in person and also not recorded, so that we can, if there's specific issues that we want to deal with in terms of cybersecurity, that we can deal with it. But you would have seen that I've added some cybersecurity slides, but I'm not comfortable with having it on having major discussion on our cybersecurity posture on a streamed event. And I'm more than happy to have a closed session where we can deal with any questions that we have on our cybersecurity. Suffice to say, we have a strategy in place. It is a provincial strategic risk. Our head of corporate insurance, Henry Head, needs to report on a monthly basis on the information security risk. As I said, it's been elevated to a strategic risk. And there's a lot of work that we're doing within our environment pertaining to information security, and specifically on the user awareness, the awareness focused on our users. And in a recent session, the HOD of Treasury has indicated that we need to put those results where our users have not completed the training. We need to put those results to the HODs and create some competition amongst themselves to make sure that they bring up the results or improve the results of the citizen awareness. Chair, this is just the risk. We indicate.
Mr. Arends, apologies for interrupting. On these
Yeah.
cybersecurity slides, for now, I do think you can skip them.
Okay.
I will then ask the committee that we liaise with the chair for Premier, that should we require further information that's not on the slides on cybersecurity, that we do that in person and in camera. And what I'll then also ask is if there is anything on the current slides that needs to be taken off, that you just forward us an updated copy, because we also hand these documents over to PMG so that they have what we're doing in our respective meetings.
Thanks for the understanding, Chairperson. I will do so. And I'll just rush quickly through the others. We have cloud services. Currently, we have 2 cloud service providers, which Azure and the Oracle clouds, which provides more stability for our services, and also predictability and more security. Infrastructure refresh, where we need to look at the legacy infrastructure, because these are all things that we need to focus on in terms of modernizing our environment and improving our services. And that one is specifically in the education space. Chairperson, this is on New York, and we had a visit by the standing committee. As you can see, there's some standing committee members there. We've taken them through our Network Intelligence and Operations Center, where we have visibility of our network throughout the province in terms of the sites that are up and down, and that is our center where we monitor the province's whole estate. Digitally powered employees, we have office teams, and we've empowered our teams to work remotely. When COVID-19 hit, our province was the first province, and if not the only province, and even national department or department nationally, that could move to teams and working from home immediately. Within a week, we have deployed more than 5,000 instances of MS Teams because we've already migrated to the Microsoft Cloud. We had most of our applications, we have moved to the cloud at that stage already. And with CETA, we've provided VPN remote access for our users, so we could move to working from home almost immediately once COVID-19 hit. And the Premier and the DG and the Head of Treasury, and specifically the Minister of Provincial Treasury, Mr. David Maynier at that stage, who was steering the Ops Center, they could meet virtually almost every day. And because of the work that we've done before that, in terms of getting the right technologies into an environment that provided mobility, automation, and security to our employees. Chair, this is just our Wi-Fi access points that we've deployed throughout the province so that there's more mobility and people can access the networks within the boardrooms. We have 1,855 as at the end of March this year. We're at 1,855 Wi-Fi access points deployed. And that picture that you see there is a picture of the Brackengate hospital, COVID hospital, that was completely wireless. We had Wi-Fi throughout that facility, and all the technologies in that facility was wireless. And then training, skilling our own people. Chairperson, we've got an IT training unit that we provide training to all our staff, teachers, corporate staff, and we also provided training to 80 CDWs last year after meeting with the Tusang Center managers within the provinces, not the Tusang Center managers, the ICT managers of all the municipalities in the Western Cape, a meeting that is normally hosted by local government. They've indicated the need for the CDWs to be trained, and we've trained 80 CDWs, of which I think 76 passed the training, only 4 did not complete it. Chair, that's the end of the high-level initiatives that I want to go through. I've highlighted the key of them and mostly the transversal ones. Api will now just take us through the provincial treasury initiatives. He's got 3 slides, and then I'll conclude, and then we can take questions from the chairperson. Is that okay?
Thank you. Mr. Mazomba, you're up.
Thanks very much, my CIO and chairperson. I just want to already mention up front that as a provincial treasury, we are aligned fully with those core digital government goals that Hilton has presented. In fact, Chair, I just do want to say that we do see digital transformation as well as the e-government initiatives as imperative change initiatives for achievement of better governance outcomes as well as strategic financial leadership in our province. So that said, Chair, the Minister did say in her opening remarks that we do have quite old systems, but yet, Chair, I do want to also indicate that these systems are the heartbeat of the provincial treasury. Just to give you the extent of the role that they play, these systems are supporting all 13 government departments. There's a total of about 6,600, just over 90,000 officials, and all those officials, their salary administration is run on the Provincial system. On the Logis side, Logis, we've implemented about 96 stores where we manage about 6.6 billion worth of movable assets for the province. On a monthly basis, that Logis system facilitates just on average about 6,500 and odd order numbers on the Logis system in the tune of about 623 million on a monthly basis. On BES, we run about 601,000 payment transactions in a financial year. Our e-procurement system publishes at least about 36,000 procurement opportunities per quarter. We have about 8,600 of our suppliers that are already registered on the Supplier Evidence Bank and are ready to then respond to opportunities that may come. It is with this reason then, Chairperson, that our Minister, Winga, as well as our HOD, Mr. Savage, saw it fit, particularly for us to be able to budget or put a budget at least associated with system development as part of our evergreen legacy systems, which is this picture that you see here. And the main focus of it really for us is just to ensure that our systems and data security of these critical systems is in check, that we have a robust platform to access our systems for meaningful data exchange, that we improve our reporting capability in order to enable data analysis and future fiscal planning, as well as better transparency to the public on expenditure. It is also about ensuring ease of access to procurement opportunities, particularly for our suppliers. So this slide simply just provides a system architecture vision for the development of these systems. Whilst Hilton spoke about the optimization, we are talking about rationalization of our financial systems landscape. And this is to drive uniformity and to drive efficiencies in the province in terms of the financial systems that we have. If I can then move to the next slide. Our strategic intervention at this particular point, Chairperson, in terms of system development has been mainly on the supply chain management domain. We will be implementing, and I think Hilton already hinted on it in his previous slide, the customer relationship management system. And this is really geared at bettering the ease of access for our suppliers in engaging with us. As can be seen in this slide, a number of initiatives, both looking at citizen-facing as well as internal systems that will ensure that we improve our governance. We are also actively watching, Chairperson, the activities that are happening at National Treasury, as well as some of the system development that's occurring. We are even assisting in sharing some of the tools that we have built so that we can we don't duplicate any effort, but in actual fact that we drive this uniform system that supports our country. We will continue, Chair, to be a lead site for the IFMS when it is actually implemented. We will wait for that, but we will not just wait. We will also just ensure that we, as much as possible, improve where possible with some of the initiatives that we are driving. As you can see, there are some exciting initiatives which we intend to overlay on top of these core financial systems that I've mentioned. E-leave, asset management. You will see automated financial systems and the IYM. All of that is geared at improving our current landscape. We have also, Chairperson, established a strategy execution office, and that is all to do with ensuring that there's proper ICT governance practices that are followed within the Provincial Treasury in implementing all of the initiatives as the Provincial Treasury. And I'll mention just a few. Just ease of access to reporting as well as self-service reporting has been something that when we met as a management team in our strategic session, it became quite clear it's something that's required and required quite quickly that we implement. There was also a requirement that at the fingertip that each manager should be able to have this self-service reporting. A secure single source of data for reporting is quite critical for us, that we don't have different sources of data, and we're not sure whether the data that we have actually tells the right story. And that's why we're having this data warehouse. We also want to ensure that there is predictive analytics, there is forecasting ability that is given to our management. There's also dashboards for management in ensuring that they're able to make the decisions at the tip of their hands. Already, Chairperson, and I think we've already come to a few committees in Parliament. We have been successful in publishing the public disclosure report, and might I add, we were the first in the province to actually implement this. We have created a dashboard already to track and report on vulnerable municipalities. Again, another first. We were the first to actually implement that in the Western Cape government, and we see that National Treasury now wants to also take the idea in order to implement a much more wider. So the data warehouse that we are planning on, with the latest technology, this includes artificial intelligence, machine learning, will just simply enhance our ability to render and expand on the reporting capabilities. So, Chair, that's our initiatives as a provincial treasury. I'm going to pause there. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, and may I just add that the provincial treasury, or our provincial treasury, not the provincial, our provincial treasury is doing brilliant work, and we're doing it together. The only reason why I've extracted a previous slide specifically is that he's the best person to speak to that, and that's why we've brought that together. But you can easily see it slots under digital empowering employees, optimizing processes. There's another slide that fits in there, but we've extracted it so that we can have a focus on the treasury systems. And as I said, nobody can present it better than a preview. So just in terms of the way forward, Chairperson, as I've indicated earlier, key thing is for us to build that strategic partnerships. If we want to get anywhere close to what Estonia has achieved, we need to have that strategic partnership at a national level and also with other provinces and even with other national partners. It's not going to be easy, but I always say that if we can first have a meeting of minds and we can get strategic alignment and understanding that our architectures and agree on the architectures, then we'll be able to work towards this single citizen service that we want to provide, Chairperson, the single view of the citizen, and also for the citizen, the single view of government. We need to explore opportunities and mitigate threats of 4IR technologies such as AI, ChatGPT, and cryptocurrency, expanding the citizens' access to ICT connectivity and digital skills training. So, as I said earlier, when you look at the Estonia model, it's that access to ICTs and connectivity that brought them to where they are at the moment. And that was one of the building blocks. That was solely the key success factor. Increasing the number of and quality of citizen services information via the digital channels, as you rightly said, Chairperson. Estonia's got 90% of the government services digitally available. Portal with information. If you click on those links, there's no transactionality available. It's more just information and guiding you through what process you need to follow. And the idea is that we look at that portal and start putting services through that portal that we need to have, as I said, at the national level and with the other provinces. Optimize protections. And Apiwe rightfully indicated that I'm speaking about optimizing and he's speaking of rationalizing, because they have done an analysis, the complete analysis of all the applications that we have, and they could clearly see overlaps. Financial space, it's easier to get those overlaps and the duplication eliminated. So that's why he's rightfully following a rationalization approach rather than optimizing. Modernizing our financial systems. Apiwe has just taken us through that specific presentation and those 3 slides of modernizing our systems. And then we need to strengthen our ICT governance to ensure information security and high availability of our digital services. Chair, the last thing that we want is a person to travel from Neisner to get to George for a service and then the system is down. It happens with Home Affairs often, if people go there and they say, but the system is down. People do not understand. When we say government, when we talk about governance, people close their ears and their eyes because they don't think governance is counterintuitive or counterproductive to productivity or service delivery. but governance is so important that the making sure that there's proper backup, making sure that there's continuous services, making sure that information is secure. Those are key governance matters that you need to focus on in order to improve your services. Because if your system is down the whole time, or you've not backed up your services and you lose data, or your system gets hacked, people would not be using your information security or your applications that you put forward. And then lastly, expanding connectivity through the Western Cape Government Broadband Service. That is one thing that we, as I said, that we're working on, and that will be that we're hoping to finalize by March next year in terms of the contract. But the new contract needs to look at how do we bring connectivity to more people at the same price or less price and have a greater reach. So Chair, I'll conclude on that note. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for what is truly a comprehensive presentation. I can honestly say the Premier and Provincial Treasurer's departments have truly exceeded my expectations on this particular topic. And I think you should be proud of the work that you're doing. With that, I'm going to now take questions from the committee members. Members, if you can just raise your hands. I see Member Fry. Any other hands? Member America? Okay, I don't see any other hands. Okay, Member Brunkhuis. In that order, Member Fry, America, and then Brunkhuis, and then I'll do a second round of questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a few questions. I don't think I'll make the second round. Thank you very much, Mr. Arendse and Mr. Mazomba, for the presentation. It was indeed very thorough and very cogent. I just have two questions and a comment. The first is, we all know that the reliability of national government systems other than SARS and the e-filing service is suspect, to say the least. How would we integrate our systems into a single sign-on, a single digital ID, when these systems are clearly not built not built for purpose, because we see them falling over very often, and I myself have been subject to this at Home Affairs, and with load shedding, the systems are very unreliable. The second, Mr. Arendse, is I'm assuming that in the budget there was a line item for this. I couldn't see in the budget of this year where the line item was. I don't have the budget in front of me, to be honest with you, and I apologize, Chairperson, for not being budget friendly today. But if you just elaborate for me on where is this in the budget, or is it already integrated into the budget? And then lastly, as the chair of the department, the Standing Committee on the Department of the Premier and Constitutional Matters, and I see as we share the same procedural officer, I'm sure we can schedule that in-camera meeting to discuss the cyber security issues, given the fact that the Western Cape Provincial Parliament was subject to an attack. So I think that's a fairly urgent issue that we need to unpack. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you so much. I just want to mention that the WCPP system and the WCG system, I do think is different. But I thank you for being able for us to be able to do that in the future then. Member America?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, before I start, just a rider that I have not thoroughly gone through the presentation, but I followed the sort of presentation when I logged on. Now, I've got three questions I'd like to pose, and one being, firstly, I want to express my deep sense of gratitude for all the work that is being done. I think to a certain degree, I suffer from information overload now because there's so much going on, and that I don't know where to start. But let me start from the strategic partnerships that is being envisaged. We know that finances are constrained for all our departments because of the allocations that we received. And again, that one is sort of appreciative of the fact that where best practices are being developed in the province, that we are willing to share those best practices with our counterparts in other provinces. But certainly, these best practices have not developed overnight. These capabilities is a result of hard work, financial resources being applied to, and commitment on the part of our employees. So if so my question is, to what extent in fostering and developing those partnerships with other provinces, whether there is a cost sharing sort of contract that may emerge of us sharing our intellectual property with them, because at the end of the day, we incur the costs and they derive the benefit from our sweat and labor. The second question is, and the same would apply to national departments that operate within our Tusong centers. Although Mr. Arons was saying that no additional cost is being incurred by expanding the services to national department who operate in our Tusong centers, certainly, a benefit is being derived from these departments using our resources to efficiently execute their task. And I know at the end of the day, it is the benefit of our citizens in the Western Cape, but certainly there's a cost to it, and somebody needs to bear the costs, and because nothing is considered free. Now, while we're speaking about Tusong centers, and I think that Mr. Arons was saying that the desire is to expand connectivity to as many people as possible. To what extent in the future are we considering to integrate the 30 municipal services that is being sort of provided across our municipalities, particularly those in the rural areas, to have some sort of integration with our systems with those of the municipalities, given the JDM model that we wish to sort of follow and roll out in the Western Cape. Now, I was just just want to relate a practical example for myself. Is that I live in the city of Cape Town. I have access to e-services of the city of Cape Town. Now, for me, who is fairly literate and IT sort of literate in a sense, it was for me not very difficult to go to the e-services platform, register, access services, etc. But there are shortcomings where payment options are not very easy, etc. But I'm sure those can be sorted out. So providing that connectivity to more people, and particularly in rural areas, we have a large footprint to provide access to many users who, to a certain degree, have a certain level of literacy as far as ITC is concerned. But there's also a host of people out there who do not have, for various reasons, attain the level of literacy to have access to the services. Do we provide an opportunity other than the 80 CDW workers that we train for the Department of Local Government, have access training or training for many more people, particularly in our rural areas, to provide them with the level of literacy, ITC literacy, so that they could also make use of the services that are available to access opportunities. And here I'm talking to Auntie Salia and Uncle John, who have not, had the opportunity to get these sort of opportunities in the past. So I must say, Chairperson, is that I'm extremely impressed by the footprint and the work that is being done, and the opportunities that such access provide to many of our people. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Member Merika. One of the things that you mentioned was regarding the City of Cape Town e-services, and recently the City of Cape Town actually came out with an ease of doing business index for the city services. So perhaps something that Mr. Arends and Mr. Mazombe then can take into account is a possible ease of doing business index for the province for provincial services as well. Member Brancais, and then I'll close the first round of questions just for it to be easier for Mr. Arends and Mr. Mazombe. Thank you.
No, thank you, Chair. Chair, I'll stand over for the second round. Thanks.
Are you sure? Going once, going twice?
Yeah, no, I'm sure.
No problem.
I'm sure, Chair. I'm just not involved. Okay.
No problem. Mr. Arends and then Mr. Mazombe.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, in terms of the reliability of national systems, when we want to take solutions up to national level, it needs to be on new platforms. The issues that we have with Home Affairs, and I've studied that quite carefully, Chairperson, understanding where they're getting wrong is because they have never invested in upgrading the infrastructure. They've never invested in upgrading the network and the connectivity into the systems, and they've never invested in upgrading the applications. So now you have the application stack, Chairperson, the network, and the infrastructure that's vulnerable because they're operating on legacy technology. And the older your technology gets, the more vulnerable it is to failure. And that is the problem that they have. They have, I think, last year announced 750 million for the infrastructure refresh, but they're still a long way behind the 8-ball, Chairperson, in terms of getting to a modernized legacy or modern platforms. So as it relates to new systems and integration that we're doing it at the provincial level. And when we speak to the national level, we will not migrate or integrate at the national level on legacy platforms. It will not make sense. It will not take us into the future. And we need to make our country future fit. Member Fry, in terms of the budget line item, can I just get clarity? What budget line item are you referring to specifically? Are you referring to this digital government program as a budget line item? Because our whole program fall within the Department of the Premier, that budget is in respect of digital government within the province and digital transformation, and then each department also have elements of ICT spending within their own budgets, provincial treasury also. So you won't see a specific line item for digital government. Center for Innovation in our case is one of the biggest programs within the Department of Premier, and all our expenditure is towards improving services to the citizen. Member Merika, I understand your point in terms of the applications that we develop, and then we've put in the time and effort and the money within our province, and now we're scaling it up to national level. So I'll explain the NPO system that we've developed here at provincial level. It was a social development office, social development solution, and then we've just reconfigured that for the ECD institutions, the creches, that now needs to register and apply for funding within the education department. So those in the institutions had to register. The DBE then adopted that solution. So the process that will follow now is that we will still maintain the solution. It will be run at the national level. We'll still maintain it, but DBE will pay us for the cost that we've expended to maintain that system. So that is the model that we've developed. And the benefit is we will now maintain it at the national level. We get the full funding back, and our province also get the benefit of that specific solution. As it relates to the officers and the other departments within a Tusang Center, remember, yeah, it will be difficult to start unpacking how much they need to pay for the services that we're giving them. But as I said, if we already have a Cape Access Center in a Tusang Center, we pay for that 1 gig connectivity to the Cape Access Center, and they might not be able to, they might not need the full 1 gig. So that is, it just makes sense to distribute it to the other entities. And we've not gone as far as saying that they need to pay for it. And I'll go back into my department and also speaking to our treasury officials and see whether we should adopt something like that. But I really do not want to make the call on that. And I think I'm not the appropriate person to make the call. But at this stage, it just seems logical for us to provide that connectivity to the other entities or other government organizations. And then remember, you spoke about the integrating systems with municipalities. And I'll be honest, we are now working with the smaller municipalities because that's where we want to get involved, the smaller municipalities and developing solutions that they can use. So an example here is the housing demand database. So citizens can register their housing demand need for a municipality in, say, Prince Albert. They use our solution to register their housing demand need, and it gets onto the system, and the municipality can get the data of the people that registered for the need for housing in the municipality. It's also being used by our own minister to see what is the status. And what's nice about that solution and site tracking is that you can now actually see that Hilton applied last year and Apiwe applied 2 years ago. And if Hilton gets a home in the same area and it's coming from the same before Apiwe, you need to be you can see that something isn't right. So the nice part of that solution, it also provides you timestamps and date stamps of the application. So that's already one of the services. But you're right, we need to integrate more with the municipalities, and we're working towards that with our Department of Local Government. However, the City of Cape Town is a totally different animal. And we've had initial engagements with them on integrating basic services. For example, integrating the call center for emergency medical services, because they have a call center and we have a call center. People sometimes call their call center and then they need to link it to our call center. So it's issues that we needed to address. But even with our best efforts, the communications and the process didn't really materialize. Similarly with the CRM solution and the website, looking at how do we integrate this so that the citizens go to one site for services. So we have our challenges. So I'm talking about getting the relationships really right at the national level, but we first need to get it right at the provincial level and make sure that we can get it. So we are working on that. I'm constantly aware of having that vertical and horizontal integration, member. And that's something that I put myself up for this year, and just pushing that specific agenda, that integration, because without that, we're not going to achieve the Estonia model. And then in terms of the training opportunities for our citizens, I've perhaps neglected to say that in our Cape Access programs, where we have 74 e-centers across the province, you actually have a facilitated and accredited training for our simply as to one of the centers or one of the standing committees. I think member Fry's standing commissions to at one of the Cape Access centers. We focus on that to the citizen, but that's a very rewarding and enriching program, because it is for the Tani Sara and for the John and for those people to go there and train. In some cases, we even have people that's over the age of 60 that go to there for training, to be trained in how to use a computer. Chair, I think those are the comments, the questions, and thanks for the comment on the ease of doing business. I do not know whether Apiwe want to comment on the ease of doing business index for province. Apiwe?
Yeah, thanks very much, Chairperson, and thanks, Hilton, for that. The Ease of Doing Business Index. I've also got Isaac Smith also in the call, Chair. My sense is definitely it's something that we can engage with the City of Cape Town on to see to what extent we can partner. We're always open to partnering and improving the way in which we report. And I would assume that that's a reporting tool with a specific objective. So we'd be quite interested to look into that. And then I think majority of the points, in actual fact, you've covered, Hilton. The one of Member America on the training, ICT training, just additionally to mention, Chair, that we were approached as well by the State Information Technology Agency, SETA, who also are looking at a drive for digital skills. In particular there, Chair, what they've indicated to us is they're also actively partnering with the SETAs, government SETAs, that are responsible for driving skills, ICT-related skills, in aid to obtain graduates, ICT graduates, upskill those graduates and make them ready for the workplace. And so those are some additional other opportunities that may be available for our citizens that we also need to look at. And perhaps if the committee wills, that we also then have CETA present to the committee on that specific initiative, which I think is also a great initiative in ensuring that unemployed graduates become employable via skills and capacitation. So, Chair, that's my thoughts and comments additionally. I'm not sure if Mr. Smith wants to add on the ease of doing business, but certainly I think it's something that we can definitely partner up on. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Chair and members. That is certainly something that we will take up with our team at local government. As you're well aware, that between the Provincial Treasury and the Department of Local Government and Department of Environmental Affairs, we also look specifically at certain areas within municipalities, and the ICT environment is one of that. I just need to indicate, as Hilton has indicated, of course, the city is a different kettle of fish. We do have some of the bigger municipalities like Saldanha that have further invested in ICT, but to a large extent, this is an area that needs quite a bit of development within municipalities. But certainly we will take it up in our team, and then maybe if there is one of the municipalities, I do believe there's one or two that have started on this particular process, we can also feed it back to the committee as well. But it's certainly an important point that we can take up with the municipalities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Member Brinkhuis, you are next in the queue for questions. And if there are no other hands, then I'll go after you. Member Brinkhuis, do you still want to ask your question? Or has it been answered, perhaps? Okay, I will then pose my questions then first. Member Brinkhuis, you with us?
Yes, Chair. So a question with regard to the current cyber attack at the WCPP and the attempt to solve it. I think we are well over a week now that we are experiencing this situation. Is there any way that Mr. Arendse can give us an indication of when it will be resolved, or maybe a timeline when we can expect this situation to be resolved? Thank you, Chair.
Member Brinkhuis, I just want to indicate that the Western Cape government system is not the same system as the Western Cape Provincial Parliament system. I do know that the cybersecurity attack at the WCPP, which is the Provincial Parliament system, had been addressed at the Parliamentary Oversight Committee because I stood in for Member Gillian on that particular day. Is it possible for us to just forward that request to the Speaker's office, as this does not relate to the Western Cape government system? Member Brinkers, would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Chair. Thank you very much. That will be in order. No, thank you very much, sir.
No problem. I'll then ask that we just forward that particular one. Thank you so much. One of the reasons we combined, obviously, the Premier and Provincial Treasury departments in this particular session is not only due to the transversal nature of the work, but the Premier department is obviously important for the coordination, and Provincial Treasury is and I'm talking with my bit of the numbers hat now, is important for costing and budgeting for the future. So I wanted to find out, Mr. Mazombe, is it possible for Provincial Treasury, with the assistance of Premier, to almost cost our current programs within this space that the presentation has been on, but also to estimate costing for the next 1 to 3 years within the respective departments that you wish to do? Now, I know that something like that will probably take quite a bit of time in order to estimate a costing. So if you do have an estimation of time that will be required to be able to do so, that would be much appreciated. And then I wanted to find out from Mr. Arends, the Western Cape government mobile app that you are working on. I feel that is so crucial because often we use our mobile units much more than if we had to, for example, go onto a website on a laptop or a tablet or a standalone computer. Because so many of our residents live in the rural areas. So do you have a timeline for when you would like to see that mobile app completed? Further, you indicated in some of the slides that you have more or less a vision of 1 to 3 years of implementation for this proposed roadmap. How can we, as the Budget Committee, help you get there? Are there any legislative reforms that you require? For example, in Estonia, they have the one data system where you put information in once and you never need to give your information again because government isn't then allowed to ask you twice for the same thing. What can we do to or how can we help work towards that one government? Further, I wanted to find out whether devolution of certain national department mandates could possibly assist us with implementation of some of these systems that we are working towards. And then I just want to check quickly. You mentioned that the Western Cape is currently one of the lead sites for the IFS. But I do recall, I think it's been since 2019, since we've been elected, even before then, that we've been waiting for some of that to be implemented. And I just wanted to find out whether you know perhaps why it's taking so long in this regard. And then just 2 comments, which I'll just for the research unit, actually, for WCPP. I want to convey my gratitude and congratulations to our WCPP research unit for really quality work on e-governance for the Budget Committee, and similarly to Premier Department and PT on the work on this particular presentation. I'm truly impressed by the comprehensive, reliable and useful data and evidence within the respective research. And I thank the departments as well as WCPP research for this. I'll leave the rest of mine for the resolution stage. I just want to check if there are any other hands that wanted to do follow-up questions or new questions. I don't see any. So Mr. Arends, you can go first, and then Mr. Mazombe. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Chair, whether it's possible to cost our programs and estimate costing for the next 3 years? I think it is possible. And for the head of Treasury here, I must say that it is possible and that we will be able to work towards it. But as I said, it's not going to be an easy task for us to get all that information. We will work on the existing systems that we have in place, but also on the ICT plans, we will have some idea on what is the costing and the budgets that's been put in place for going forward. You do understand that there's different elements that we need to look at. You need to look at the current systems, the maintenance costs to it, the new systems, licensing or subscription, further enhancements and development that need to take place. It will not be an exact science, but I do think we will be able to get you to that specific, to a specific number, Chairperson. So can I ask that we be allowed the month of June to work through it? I do not want to tell you within 2 weeks, because I now need to get the team to start working on that, because we have some of these things in each one of the departments as it relates to ICTs. So, and if it's only the ones that I've put on the screen, that's one thing, but I'm sure you'd like to have a picture of what's happening within the whole of the province. I'll pause here, Chairperson, because I see HOD Savage hand is up.
Yes, I was just about to say, before you move on to the other answers, maybe if HOD Savage could assist us.
Chairperson, I mean, I hear your request, and I think Hilton's painted out the complexity of that exercise. I just wanted to point out that actually what we're trying to do is take a slightly more integrated approach than just going for what does it cost us, what's budgeted for. But it's really for where are the strategic opportunities in the execution of our programs. To integrate, to enhance, and so forth. What I would suggest rather, and I'm quite keen on, in fact, is that we start to report on our digital transformation journey as part of our budget documentation, because it is a key part of what we're attempting to achieve strategically as a province. And we're in the process. There is a program, as we sort of outlined here, to both collect the information, but also align effort a lot more towards a couple of tangible deliverables in a sequenced way. So I'm just a bit hesitant about the team being diverted to just generate the costing as a one-off exercise, and more to say, why don't we start to look at how, when we present our budget documentation, we give an overview of where we are and where we're going from a budget perspective with expenditures in this domain. It just is a very, very broad domain, as Hilton has indicated.
Thank you so much. I think what my intention of that question really is when you move, for example, from a legacy system to a newer system, if, for example, Premier Department comes to you and says, okay, HOD, we need money to move over. What does that look like? How much are we putting aside? It's how much are we preparing for? But I take note of your suggestion, and I think that will work going forward. Thank you. Mr. Arendse?
Thanks so much, Chair. So, Chair, how can the Budget Committee help? Oh, sorry, the mobile app. Do we have a timeline? Chair, we do have a mobile app that's existing at the moment. So, as I said, one of the services for the municipality is already on there. But registering on the app and using the app is not very user-friendly. Or let me rather say, from the citizen side, it's fine. But from our perspective, adding more services to the app is a bit of a challenge. And that's why we're now looking at modernizing the mobile app. So we do have an app in place, which is adequate for now, but we are looking for a mobile app or mobile app platform that's easily scalable, where we can add new products, and where we can integrate the services much better than what we are doing at the moment. So as we are looking at within the next, and it's not an easy process to just land a new mobile app person or mobile app platform, because we have the app. So we have looking at next year, September, and getting the new mobile app platform in place, and have migrated the current services over to the new one. You also do not just want to stop at one app and move to the other app. There's a process of migration of the services that's already on there to the new platform, and that will take time. But we are busy with that. And if you want a timeline, the earliest I can say is for that migration to take place from the current app to the other one is September 2024. How can the Budget Committee help towards the one citizen? See, that's a very good question, and a question that I've thought of when I started preparing for this specific presentation. Of course, I was hoping a question like that will come up. But there's various areas that we find in the Estonia example that were key building blocks. The issue of the data, the issue of the internet, the issue of providing ICT training at schools, and computer skills, building that at schools level, the issue of the applications and having an entity that's been established to oversee ICT and the applications within the country, and then also the integration. And obviously linked to the data, it's a whole single ID. It's so strongly controlled. So when I use information of a citizen, the POPI Act says you cannot use it for another purpose without getting the approval of the data subject, the person who's provided the data. So there's so many things around the legislation that we need to look at, and how do we deal with it. And I've tried to look at how does the Budget Committee assist. Chair, I think the Budget Committee, to me, will if we can have the Budget Committee to play a role for us, I do not know to what extent, but at the national level, and trying to help us to forge at the political level, forging that integration, and we'll work from an administrative and a technical level to forge that integration, and then we can meet in the middle. Because I do foresee that even whilst we as administrators might be pushing and forging relationships and processes, getting meeting of minds, it could be at some stage, it could be at a political level where we have pushback. I do not anticipate, and I hope it doesn't happen, but that is where we'll be knocking on the doors and say, please help us with this. So, Chair, that is as much as I can say there. But at this stage, a lot of the things that we need to do is mostly, as I said, getting that strategy alignment, getting the architecture alignment, and also looking at alignment as the key priorities that we want to embark on between the provinces. And then can I leave it could be also the question on devolution of national capabilities. Chair, in my case, in terms of the applications that I'm focusing on, I think that is, for me, even if we can move some of these up to national level, that will be brilliant. I think in Apiwa's case, and I'm going to leave that to Apiwa and Isaac, devolution is more applicable on their side, where they will be able to spearhead things and make things work. So can I just check with Apiwa and Isaac whether they would like to respond to that question, and then also the question on the IFM is the when question that you've posed on IFMS. Apiwa?
Chair, thanks very much, Hilton. Thanks, Chairperson, for that question. And it's not the first time, Chair, that this question has come up in Parliament. But I'm gonna just tackle the IFMS question, and then and perhaps Isaac can then tackle the devolution one. Chair, the initiative on IFMS began around 2005. I was still a very young man then. But unfortunately, Chair, because of quite a number of delays within the National Treasury, because this is a National Treasury initiative, which included procurement delays between National Treasury CETA in the approval of a system implementer to implement the IFMS. That was one of the major stumbling blocks that have been reported by National Treasury. Additionally, Chairperson, there is also a forensic investigation on the IFMS. There is also an investigation by the public protector. There's quite a number of these investigations that are occurring, given the fact that there already has been quite a considerable expenditure on the IFMS, and yet we have nothing to show for that. And so, Chair, what we are doing in the Western Cape government is hosting monthly engagements, which includes various different stakeholders, CETA, the DPSA, National Treasury, to really account and give us insights in terms of what they are doing to ensure that at least we're able to land the IFMS quickly. So that's what they've reported in those sessions, Chair. And they've also been approached by quite a number of other committees at a national scale, SCOPA, the portfolio on finance, asking this very same question, Chair. And all those documents, as well as minutes, are available for public consumption, but I'm quite open to share with the committee those set of minutes that are coming through from those committees as well. That way you are able to see what has been asked and how they've also responded in terms of this initiative. Yes, we would like to have an integrated financial system yesterday, given the fact that the PERSA system was implemented in 1992. And so many things have happened since then, and the technology has evolved quite a lot. And so, Chairperson, I think from where I sit, it would have been great that we were offered an opportunity as a Western Cape government to drive our own integrated financial system. But we also understand that we're not a government alone. We operate within the national sphere, and therefore we have to partner with National Treasury to actually drive this. So, Chair, that's my thoughts on that particular matter. Thank you. Isaac, I'm not sure if you want to cover the other question.
Yeah, maybe I should just focus on the supply chain, Chair. So RPWF explained the problem at this point in time that we're experiencing with the IFMS. And whilst we've also made decisions now within the Western Cape that we look at legacy systems and see to what extent we can modernize that, we strategically still keeping the door open as far as the IFMS is concerned, and hence we're still a lead site and we're still engaging with the National Treasury on that. One of the reasons now that we maintain that it seems there's now a renewed focus from the National Treasury to look at reviving some of the modules of the IFMS, and hence, whilst we're also looking at modernizing existing legacy systems, we also make sure, that we also kept up to date in terms of what's happening at the national level. There are some new role players that's been appointed, and they also keen to actually accelerate some of the further developments on the IFMS. What we've also done, Chair, whilst waiting for the IFMS, over these years, the National Treasury has also given us authority to go ahead with, particularly on the supply chain management. I think at one of the last meetings, we gave feedback on our e-procurement system, as well as our supplier evidence bank, which are linked to some of the national systems. And what we're also doing is we're actually liaising with the National Treasury because they're embarking now on an e-commerce environment. And what we're also doing is having sessions with the National Treasury so that they can also learn as much as possible what we have experienced, because at the national level they haven't implemented the e-procurement system. So there are close relationship with the Office of the Chief Procurement Office and the Western Cape, and we've got continuous meetings. In fact, they've also indicated to us what lessons they've learned and what will be incorporated in terms of developing a broader national system as far as e-commerce is concerned. For us, that is important, because although our departments is using the e-procurement system, our municipalities is not using an e-procurement system, and it seems that National in particular want to focus on the municipalities. We just want to make sure, when those systems are being developed, it's actually in line with some of the learnings from our side, and that we will be able to contribute to what National Treasury would like to implement. So in certain instances, Chair, we're getting the authority to do certain things, but there is an embargo on financial systems. And as we go along, we approach National for deviations. In fact, we've received approval to go ahead with the pharmaceutical supply system at the Department of Health, and we're in the final processes of awarding that particular contract. But it is on a piecemeal, and it's not a general approval that they've given to us. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. It would be quite nice if municipalities could piggyback on the provincial SEB system and e-procurement system. In many municipalities, you're still required to go and fetch and submit hard copies. But I just wanted to check with Mr. Smith whether the e-procurement side and whether the involvement with National Treasury, whether they're looking at reverse auctions within the e-commerce site or the e-procurement site. I know that in some countries, the reverse auctions, like for example, I think it's Kenya, that is already doing that. It's working quite well, where you actually bring the price down instead of seeing prices going up in terms of the tendering of the system. Thank you. I just want to check if there's any other hands or follow-up questions. Okay, Mr. Smith.
No, thank you, Chair. The reverse auctions, we basically have it on the system for the last 10 years. We didn't activate that in the system. We outsourced the initial procurement system. We've brought it in-house, and we further want to develop that. But we were hamstrung with some of the policy directions of the National Treasury. But lately we've seen that they have actually pulled that procurement method in some of their draft documents. So surely, Chair, we will then make sure that we further develop the reverse auctions in our current e-procurement system. Although we had it previously, we didn't activate it. But the positive aspect is that the National Treasury have started to pull that in also in the draft policy documents, which of course give us a clear indication that is one of the mechanisms that they will employ. We already had discussions within our own components in making sure that we're building the proper reverse auction within our current system. We've got all the business requirements already, and we just need to do that, Chair. But as I've said, it's actually positive that the National Treasury is also moving that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I wasn't aware that they are busy with their policies on that at the moment. I haven't seen it in the draft public procurement bill, so I just made the assumption. But thank you for that. Colleagues, are there any other questions before I close the session and we move on to our committee business and resolutions? If not, then I just want to convey my sincere gratitude to the Department of the Premier as well as the Provincial Treasury for this absolutely brilliant presentation. And I hope the HOD and in the absence of the DG, Mr. Arends, if you could just please convey that to the respective departments. I think what is going to be critical now is that while one cannot do everything at once, and while there isn't money to do everything at once, that one is able to identify key strategic spaces within departments or within spaces that we're able to say, this is what we would like to focus on first, this is what we can do, and this is how we can make the lives of residents in the Western Cape easier, so that those parents, those grandparents are able to be at the braai, to go to the soccer game, to go to the netball game, instead of standing in queues or waiting for weeks to get general administration done. But with that, I just want to check if there are any closing remarks. Mr. Arends, and then HOD Savage and Mr. Mazomba.
Chairperson, thank you very much for this opportunity to do the presentation and not being cut short. That we were actually allowed to go through the whole presentation, and I could see by the comments and the questions that were raised that the members really listened to that and also have a strong interest of improve the services to our citizens through digital means. So thanks so much for this opportunity. And Chairperson, be assured that if we feel that's any way that the committee or this committee can help us with regards to matters of provincial or national importance or with constraints, then we will escalate it if it's okay with you. But thanks so much, and thanks so much for our PWA and Isaac, and then also Tim Paul from DDAT, who assisted with drafting the slide, Chairperson. Thanks so much. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you so much. We're always here if you need us. HOD Savage, and then, or Mr. Mazombe first, and then HOD Savage.
Yeah, Chair, I think Hilton has taken the gold on that one. Just really from my side, a big thank you to you, Chair, as well as to your committee members for showing interest in this space. It is a passion of mine. Hilton knows this. So I'm quite excited to see us transforming digitally in the Western Cape government. So it's good to hear that there's a definite interest as well from those that are driving the legislation as well as policies, and it's really appreciated from my side. Enkosi, thank you.
Thank you so much. HOD Savage.
Thank you, Chairperson. Yeah, let me just echo the words of my colleagues to say thanks for the opportunity to be able to present it. You know, I think we're incredibly fortunate in the Western Cape government to have the privilege to work with our digital teams who are both so professional and passionate, as well as being committed to public service. This is an incredibly technical space. To make it easy for citizens to use requires a lot of background work, and we really are just very, very fortunate to have the caliber of officials that we do have working on this and really sweating the details across all of these things. It's as the Minister said in her opening remarks, it's a very challenging environment, but also one of great promise. And so thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. And with that, I will then excuse you from the respective meeting, so you can go about your day-to-day business. I'm going to ask that the committee members just remain behind for some administration in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thanks, members.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Chair.
you. Bye. Wonderful. Members, I just want to find out first before we move to the minutes and the respective reports, whether there are any additional resolutions or information. I do know it was quite a bit of information that we have received, but if there's something specific that members would like us to do more research on or to ask information on. Ms. Kamish Ahmed, do you perhaps have anything that you've noted down specifically that we should just have noted for the resolutions on this particular presentation?
Chair, there was a question about costing, but the HOD responded by saying that he will report on digital transformation. I'm not sure if the committee wants to put that as a resolution or if it's just for noting purposes that the department has now taken or basically committed to reporting in a when they submit their budgets, that they will be giving it in they will be in that format. They will also include digital transformation when so that they can cover what's the costings for the next 3 years or the existing systems or ICT plans that is ahead. And then
before you go on,
okay.
So HOD Savage mentioned that the best, not the best way, but the suggested way would be for them to perhaps start reporting on digital transformation journey as part of the budget documentation. So perhaps that could be one of our recommendations that they consider including that in their respective budget documentation. Before I just take the other points that you have noted, I just want to check if everyone's happy with that.
Happy, Chair.
Happy?
Okay. Let me just quickly take Member America's hand and then we can go on with the next resolutions.
I know, Chair. I think it's the presentation around cybersecurity. I don't know whether it would be either to present it to the Department of the Premier or to a joint committee, but that is something that we need to pursue. Thank you.
Perhaps what we could do is we could ask whether whether the committee of the Premier is willing to do a joint committee perhaps, or if they are doing it, to then invite us in terms of that particular cybersecurity meeting, in terms of what is currently happening and how they are trying to ensure the safety and security of our systems. I know the chair of Premier is also online today with us. I just want to check if he would be happy with such a recommendation.
I'd be very happy. I'll discuss it with my procedural officer, who happens to be Ms. Fasima Kamish Ahmed as well. So we can definitely add that to our program and then invite the budget committee as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ms. Kamish Ahmed.
Chair, I actually just wanted to mention that the Standing Committee on the Premier does have it on the draft committee program because it was a resolution that was taken from the committee. It's just a matter of finding a slot. So if and they did mention that the meeting has to be in camera, so it will have to be an in-person meeting. So the committee, we can always just extend the invitation to the budget committee because it is on the draft program already.
Thank you so much. That would be wonderful. Perfect. And then I just wanted to see if, did you note anything else before I just make another
Chair,
note?
I did not note anything else unless I missed it, but I felt that it was answered. But if the committee members has anything further to resolve, then they may do so now.
Okay, I have one, but I just want to check if there are other members that want to quickly go first. Okay, I see no extra hands, so I'll just put mine. So I do believe that the deadline for putting in agendas and proposals for study tour matters have passed for this particular financial year. However, it doesn't mean that we cannot continue our research or perhaps even explore the possibility of an online study engagement with the Estonia government to try and understand how they got to be able to get their governmental services online at a 99%. And if the committee is happy, perhaps we could ascertain with the Deputy Speaker, as this falls, the international relations falls under her mandate, whether she could perhaps assist us with whether we could engage with the Estonia consulate and or ambassador in this regard, perhaps even via online platforms similar to workshops that we've had previously, just to understand some of the information on some of the programs that they're running that really created the fundamental blocks that they built their digital transformation economy on. I just want to find out from members how they feel about something like that. Yes, no, maybe.
Yes.
All good. Yes. Chair.
Okay. Okay, so always put a deadline to that. Okay. Ms. Kamish Ahmed, by when do you think would be a good deadline for members to send in their respective suggestions for unpacking that a little bit more?
Chair, maybe we can give the committee until the next meeting, but maybe just a week before the next meeting so that the suggestions are there and then they can just unpack in the meeting when it's committee discussion time.
Okay. So we can note that in, then we'll give members until a week before the next meeting time to bring in their suggestions in this regard. Okay, colleagues, before I move on to the committee minutes and the two reports, are there anything else? If none, then if we can just put up the committee minutes then first. Ms. Kamish Ahmed, if you can just put that up for us, please. Or is someone else putting it up?
It's me, Chair. It's just that when I wanted to share, then my camera settings came up. Just give me a second. The 2nd of May. There we go. Chair, is it visible? Do you want me to make it bigger?
Yes, please, a little bit bigger. Perfect. Okay, members, this is then the committee minutes of 2 May. If members can just have a look at their attendance. Okay, they welcome in attendance, consideration. Okay, that's the end of the minutes. If I could have a mover for the minutes, I think it's myself, Member America, and Member Branca who are present. Member America.
Chairperson, I move that we adopt the minutes.
Thank you so much. Could I have a seconder for the minutes? Member Branca, it's only you and I that were also in that meeting.
I would know. I will second that, Chair. I will second, Chair.
Thank you so much. The minutes are so adopted. We
Yes.
can move on to the report then. Which report are you putting up first, Ms. Kamish Ahmed? Is that the workshop report?
Sorry,
Or
Chair,
is
I'm
it-
juggling between putting on mute and going
No problem.
and sharing the screen. So it's the workshop on the money amendments procedure bill.
No problem. Just before we go through it, just some feedback. Our resolution did go to the Speaker's office, and they have written the respective letters for the technical committees, committee to the respective departments. So now from budget side, we're just waiting for the technical committee to then meet and then send us feedback, and then we will continue with that particular research. But colleagues, if we can just quickly, I'm just going to mention the page numbers as we go along, and you can stop me if there's a particular page that you wish to amend. We're on page 1. Okay, then page 2. Okay, let's one page at a time. Okay, page 1, introduction and background. Page 2, so that's page 3. Okay, can go to page 3, introduction and background with the 3 annexures. Okay, page 4, recommendation approach, standing rules. That's just the background on that. Okay, page 5. Okay, page 6. Okay, page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12, dealing with the Annexure D and Provincial Treasury's input. Okay, page 13, regarding constitutional concerns Provincial Treasury raised, as well as technical drafting concerns. Page 14, that's when they dealt with the norms and standards. Okay, then Financial and Fiscal Commission overview. Page 15, the FFC's comments. Okay, page 16 is just a continuation of the FFC's comments. Page 17, a continuation of the FFC comments. And then can we just stop there and just make it a little bit bigger? The recommendations were at that time that we asked that Provincial Treasury, the WCBP legal unit, and the Department of the Premier's legal unit obviously establish the technical team, that they incorporate the respective technical proposals made, and that the political parties will then receive opportunities to present their views on the draft at the next workshop. Members, if there are no edits, if I could have a mover for the report. Going once, Member America.
Chairperson, I move that we adopt.
Thank you. If I could have a seconder for the report.
Second, Chair.
Thank you, Member Brancas. The report is so adopted then. And then we only have one more report to go. That is our annual activities report. Thank you so much. If we can just make it a little bit bigger, please. Okay, just it went away now. I can see a little mouse, but the screen is black.
Oh, okay. I would just hold on.
No
I think
problem.
it just disappeared here till it's showing sharing, but it's not sharing. See, and now share.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you so much. If members can please we start at page 1. Okay. That's the introduction, just the mandate of the committee, page 2. Just our respective reporting department and our committee activities. You can go on. Okay, the budget period, page 3, the respective legislation or statutory matters. Okay, and then there at the end, you'll see that the original budget was 63,176 Rand. And let me just see here. We have an under expenditure of 44,285, but that's not too much of a concern given that majority of our meetings are online and statutory meetings. Members, if there are no edits, if I could have a mover for the report.
Chairperson, I move that we adopt.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder for the report?
Second, Chair.
Thank you so much. The report is so adopted. With that, that is the end of our agenda. Colleagues, are there any further resolutions or actions that do not relate to today's presentation or the feedback? If none, then I wish all the best to members for the rest of your day. I hope you have a lovely Friday going further and a lovely weekend. And as always, thank you so much for engaging in a robust budget committee meeting. It is always wonderful seeing that members are assisting with making finance fun again. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Oh, apologies before I adjourn the meeting. Miss Kamish Ahmad is going on religious pilgrimage soon. And I wish to say that that she has a blessed journey on Hajj, and we're going to miss her quite deeply. Despite that, Mr. Vermeulen is going to be assisting us in budget committee going forward. But we wish you all the best, and please come home safe, and please remember us.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Thank you.
All
Thank
the
you.
best, Ms. Khamis Ahmad.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
colleagues.
Chair.
Salamat travel, Wasima, salamat travel.
Shukran,
Thank
Shukran.
you.
Yeah,
The
my
meeting
heart
is
will-
adjourned. Have a
Have a
wonderful
lovely
day.
weekend. Thank you, Chair.
All right.
Thank you,
Bye.
Chair. Everybody, a
Bye.
lovely weekend. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.